And now switching gears, a central figure of one of the most pivotal moments in American history has passed away. The Reverend Joseph Lowery was an icon of the civil rights movement, responsible for organizing thousands and inspiring millions. Our TJ Holmes has his story.
The Dean has gone home after a life of service that put him on the front lines of civil rights battles that shaped the nation. Reverend Joseph H. Lowery passed away this weekend at the age of 98, surrounded by family at his home in Atlanta. With his goatee, signature soul patch, and longevity, Lowery was affectionately called the Dean of the Civil Rights Movement. And while little kids may learn the name Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. in their textbooks, Lowery was also right there by King's side through much of the movement. A co-founder of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, along with Dr. King, it was Lowery who helped lead the bus boycott in Montgomery that made Rosa Parks a household name. It was Lowery who delivered the demands for the Selma to Montgomery March, which led to passage of the Voting Rights Act, a defining moment of the civil rights movement. Though he retired from the pulpit and his role as president of the SCLC in the 90s, he remained engaged in public debate and politics. He was a supporter of LGBTQ plus rights, and while many of the old guard lined up in support of Hillary Clinton, Lowery was an early supporter of Senator Barack Obama. He later delivered the benediction at Obama's inauguration and received the Presidential Medal of Freedom in 2009.
The Reverend Joseph Lowery is a giant of the Moses generation of civil rights leaders. It was just King, Lowery, and a few others huddled in Montgomery who laid the groundwork for the bus boycott and the movement that was to follow.
Lowery's fiery, tell-it-like-it-is, yet gentlemanly style was on full display in 2006. Speaking at the funeral of Coretta Scott King and with former President George W. Bush just feet away.
Presidents and governors come to mourn and praise, but in the morning, will words become deeds that meet needs?
It was classic Lowery. In a statement on his passing, President Obama called Lowery a giant who let so many of us stand on his shoulders. A giant, a titan, an icon, or just the Dean. Reverend Lowery fought and won battles for decades that changed America.
The Dean, indeed, and TJ Holmes joins us now live. TJ, Lowery was once called the most prominent survival of the civil rights movement, the human and symbolic link going all the way back. You were telling me earlier about meeting him yourself several times and the words that he shared with you and the lasting impression. I want to hear that and also what you think his legacy is.
I mean, this was, we're losing an original here. And again, I know a lot of people know the name Dr. King, but they don't know the name as well of Ralph Abernathy or Fred Shuttlesworth or Joseph Lowery. These were the guys who were right there next to Dr. King through this. And Joseph Lowery was the guy in charge, essentially, of the boycott in Montgomery. He was the guy who was there and who helped with that Selma March that got the Voting Rights Act passed. These were moments that changed what this country became. That's who he was. This was a titan among titans. This was an icon. And look, I was, when I moved to Atlanta, I worked with CNN there as an anchor for 5 years, and I was blessed to be around some of these guys like Lowery and Ambassador Andrew Young. And these guys kind of showed me the way, if you will. And it's a blessing of my life to have been able to spend the time I got to spend with him. Interviewed him several times, but also just around him in Atlanta. And one of those times, Lindsay, I was telling you about, he pointed at me, pointed in my face and said, "You are the reason we don't have a civil rights movement today," saying young black folks like me and you, Lindsay, who we get opportunity and we get comfortable, right? We get comfortable and we forget there's still something worth fighting for. And that kind of sticks with you, and that will be with me the rest of my life.
And he was such a profound man, so esteemed, but also had a sense of humor. Talk to us about that moment when you talked to him after he had gotten the Presidential Medal of Freedom.
Oh, yeah, he was, I had him on set at my show at CNN just days after he got that Medal of Freedom. He was still wearing it at the time, and I asked him if he had taken it off yet, and he told me no. He was joking around, but and I asked, I said, "Do you even shower in that thing?" He actually said, "Yeah, I keep it on in the shower. I just lean out a little bit so I don't get it wet." I mean, this is a guy who was at the time almost 90 years old, but that was always his sense of humor. He was just always had this way about him that you almost wanted to bow when he walked in a room. He just felt like like royalty, just a regal, gentlemanly, but fiery guy.
And certainly African Americans and Americans in general owe quite a debt to this titan of a man who was arrested, shot at, organized and led countless marches. A man who, as you mentioned, known as the dean of the civil rights movement. At any other time and under any other circumstances, this funeral would have been a massive salute and homegoing that would rival that of some of the most revered leaders that we have. So now what? I mean, what's the plan as far as a funeral or a memorial service for him?
Yeah, this is just where we are now, and a lot of families are going through this, right? I had a member of my family over the weekend. If someone passed, they had to stream the funeral. A lot of people are going through this right now, but for someone like Joseph Lowery, who would get something, the equivalent of a state funeral, everybody would show up to his funeral. The biggest names in politics, and you could imagine, they can't do it because of where we are with coronavirus right now. And they have put out a statement, his foundation, saying that they're going to do a private family funeral, but they hope to do a larger public event sometimes late summer or in the fall. So we still could see that, but this is just where we are right now. But I'm really appreciative to you guys for taking the time to still give this man his props, to take time on your show. I know a lot's going on in the world, but this is a man who, no matter what's going on, deserves his moment. For sure. Could not agree with you more. This was necessary. And TJ Holmes, we thank you for bringing his story to us. Thank you, TJ.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.